Hi, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Creative Diaries. My name is Lillian. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your presence on the other side, wherever you are across space and time. It's so lovely to be connecting with you today. So, it's been a minute since I've hopped on the microphone and on video. I'm actually just going to do a little tech test here to make sure everything is working. Um, if you saw my last episode, I was in Mazunte, Mexico, and I was traveling away from home for a little over a month. That was a whole journey that had many different chapters and phases and different tones and textures and things that I was moving through. Um, it was my intention to do some of these episodes while I was away, and I was able to record one. I think I recorded two, but I only published one. Anyway, all to say is there was a moment where I just had to let it go because it just wasn't happening naturally and organically. So it's always sort of a larger intention for me to really tap into the flow that feels, yeah, organic, the intuitive flow that wants to come through me and my work, and like always asking what wants to be tended to, right? Like what thread of my work or what thread of my creativity and expression needs some attention. And actually, while I was away, there was a lot of tending to stuff in the back end of things that I've been creating, sort of like underground. Um, a lot of writing projects and putting different curriculum together and ideas together and a lot of drafting and editing of stuff. And so I really felt like I felt like an ostrich with my head in the ground. I was like really, really underground. And that made sense to me too, because it was there's like retrogrades happening. There was Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde. And so yeah, there was something about going back and reviewing the things inside of me that really want to have some kind of container and organization to be expressed. So that's what I did. This is a good moment for me to actually announce what I have produced out into the world after all of this sort of back end stuff. I'm really excited. I just published two offerings. First offering is a free masterclass. It's a pre-recorded webinar, and it's called Somatic Essentials, a guide to embodied living. And I'm quite proud of it. I think it's a really phenomenal resource. Um, it is the fundamental basics of somatic practice, what somatic education is, different somatic therapeutic techniques that you can literally practice at home. And so it covers the, the philosophy, the context, the history of, gives you a broad overview of the field of somatics, what it is and what it can do. And then I give you some practices. So there's like a short practice in there and a longer practice. Um, and I will say, I feel like I don't mean to throw shade, but I'm going to throw shade for a second. I feel like I download so much stuff from creators online, um, free stuff, which I'm so grateful for. And I find that a lot of the stuff that I end up downloading ends up being like a 100-page PDF or like a long podcast episode that is really a long advertisement, like a really long advertisement. It's like they're talking about, transformation stories and giving like the inspiration and pep talk and listen, I love that shit. I live in the world of inspiration. I love that. And it's so expansive. But when I download something, I want to actually learn, like I'm also looking for something that I can take away with me, right? And so, anyway, this is just sort of like my own personal frustration with what I end up encountering online in terms of the free resources. So, I took it upon myself to create something different, which is something super high value, where like you're actually getting practices and actual like grounded information that that you can use, that you can walk away with, that is practical, that is applicable, that you can like munch on and chew on. Um, and of course, it's part of my funnel. So it's like it is a way to you know, sort of spark some interest in you. And I'd say if you stick with this masterclass and, you chew on it for a while, it's like a it's like enough to really get started with your own practice. And of course, if you want to learn more and if you want to connect with me further, I'm available for that. And you can always reach out to me for one-on-ones, or this is my second announcement. I'm super excited about this. I started something that I'm calling Somatic Library, which to be determined if that's going to be the name that I continue with, but it's actually quite like, what's it called? Like spot on, like the name. So I'm creating a library, a library of digital somatic resources that are meant to be broken down into chapters. And for me, just to kind of lift the veil of my creative process, what I'm really interested in is developing a, I'm developing a curriculum, and I don't know where the curriculum is going. I don't know what sort of shape it's going to take in the future. But as I am, as I'm like putting things together and practicing through teaching, right? I learn through teaching. So it's one of those relationships where like when I produce and give what I'm with and what I'm practicing, it's a way that I can really engage for myself, right? So it keeps me engaged with the work. Anyway, so the larger thing is that something wants to be developed in terms of a somatic education curriculum. And the way that I'm approaching it now is through this somatic library, which is going to be on my website. It is on my website, and I've just published chapter 1. I'm so excited. I'm like stumbling over my words. I have just published chapter 1. And this chapter is all about self-connection and embodied presence. And it's definitely like a step. So, what I would suggest is to start with the Somatic Essentials free masterclass. And then you can go into chapter 1, self connection, embodied presence. And it's very much an expansion and extension of what I covered in the Somatic Essentials. So, it's basically going a little bit deeper into really like the heart of somatics and embodiment, how to live an embodied life. So I'm giving you these like trailheads, right? Like where to begin. Like if there's anything you need to know, these two resources will give you what you need to know to like get started and actually engage with this work. And so the first chapter, it includes like a lecture, a talk, which I have transcribed, so you can also read along, but it's really meant to be listened to. Um, so there's a lecture, and then there's 2 practices that are meant to help you experientially engage and learn with the material. And so the 2 practices in chapter 1 have to do with interoception and exteroception. So it's all about really engaging the faculty of your perception, which is how we connect this so-called, what we call the mind and body connection, is through the process of our perception, which is how we're sensing, feeling, how we're bringing awareness to what we're sensing, what we're feeling, and how that is being translated into what meaning we are creating from our lived experience. So fun. I love this stuff. Can you tell? um, so check that out on my website. The Somatic Library is meant to be an accessible resource. So right now I've priced it at $11, 11 US dollars, and I hope that that can be a way that you can get your foot in the door. So thank you for checking that out. I think that's enough of my announcements, even though I've been doing a lot of processing around my work and my life. And so, what I want to talk about today, I'm just going to lay out some bullet points and then I'll just loop around these points the way that I do. I want to talk about this like slingshot effect, right? That this thing that happens that I've observed in my life and also people who I know, where it's like it's like the moment before you level up or jump timelines or have, this manifestation come through or some sort of big expansion in your life, that there's this inevitable like pull back. There's this experience of being pulled back. And there's all these different metaphors that you can use for this. I just wrote down in my notes the slingshot effect, right? The slingshot where you're like pulling, 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 pulling back, and you feel like you're going backwards, and there's all this tension and there's all this frustration, and it feels like nothing is working out. It feels like everything is moving backwards. And then all of a sudden, the release, and then it's like the momentum just takes you forward. Um, Another good metaphor for this is contractions and expansions that is innate to the birthing process, right? So the physical, literal birthing process that we go through, and that our bodies go through the birthing process. There's contractions. The contractions are necessary for the relaxation and the pushing forward, right? For the birthing process. So there's this contraction and release and expansion. Um, okay, wait, I'm going to pause there because I have more bullet points. The other thing that I wanted to talk about today is I wrote down train yourself to feel excited. I'll come back to that. Train yourself to feel excited. I've been working with alchemizing my fear into excitement, alchemizing my anxiety into excitement. And now, just recently, trying to, figure out how to like be in a rock bottom and also feel really excited about it. Like, hell yeah. The only thing that I know will inevitably happen after this rock bottom is forward momentum. Okay. My other bullet point. Oh, decision making. Okay, let's start there. I have been tasked with what feels like the impossible task of making some big decisions recently. And the truth is, we're obviously making decisions all the time, whether we are conscious of it or not. And I think this is something to bring to light and always keep in mind that we're always making decisions, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so I think a really good practice is to start that self-observation, right? Observing yourself to see what decisions you might be making from an unconscious place. And the way that you can do that is to see kind of what has manifested in your life, right? Like what is directly in front of you? What does your life look like? What do your days look like? Where do you live? What are the circumstances of your living situation, your relationship situation, your job situation, your financial situation, right? So like to sort of take a moment and almost like as if you were waking up from inside of a dream, right? This is kind of like what we're trying to aspire to on a spiritual level. You wake up from inside of your dream and you look around and you go, wow, this is what has manifested. This is what has appeared in my reality. And of course, there are so many things beyond our control. I'm not trying to paint some sort of like God complex that we have total ultimate control over the circumstances of our lives. That's not what I'm saying. However, we do have the creative, sovereign ability to engage with our circumstances, right? We have the ability to make conscious decisions, choices, right? The things that I say yes to, the things that I say no to, and then all the like the messy gray zone in between, right? So this is what I'm referring to is I'm referring to our creative ability to engage with the circumstances of our lives. Okay, so once you kind of like wake up within this dream and you're lucid and you're observing what is around you, you can start to see that this expression of what is manifested are the things that you have said yes to, right? The things that you have, yeah, let in, right? Let inside your home, let through the doors. Yeah. And so a good exercise is to really also in a moment where you feel connected to yourself, to really feel into the the deeper root level of your desires, right? Like what it is that you truly want. Yeah. And when I say what it is you truly want, it has nothing to do with the material world. It has to do with what kind of connection and experience you want to be having in this lifetime. Yeah. Like your core, deep, authentic needs, wants, and desires. And when you get clear on what that is, then you can start to sort of cross-reference, sort of cross-reference where you look at what it is that you are really wanting. And then you look at what has manifested in your life and just notice where there might be resonance and where there might not be resonance. My friend and I, we were talking about this the other day, and she just did a really funny sort of example where she was like, yeah, and this is her metaphor too. So I'm giving this credit to Lindsay. She was like, yeah, and when I like look at what is actually manifested and look at this list of what I really want, it's like the resonance is like it like makes this like weird sound that is like not nice to not nice to hear. It's like it's dissonant, it's dissonant. There's something that is not resonant about these two things coming together. And then, I mean, obviously I'm really simplifying everything here, and there's going to be some resonance and some what's the opposite of resonance? I'm trying to think of the word. Is it dissonance? Resonance, dissonance. Other things there's going to be dissonance. And then also I feel like there's like it's a journey just to even get to the core root of what we're wanting and desiring. And I even have this sort of like open-ended question for myself. I have a lot of open-ended questions where I'm like, all right, I'm going to check back in with future Lillian, right? So I am 34 right now. I'm going to check back in, like, let's see what 55-year-old Lillian, like, let's see if she has any wisdom when I get there. Let's see if these questions, and then maybe if I still don't know, then maybe, when I'm 80 and hopefully 80. All to say is I have all these questions where I'm like, I don't know. I wonder. Let's see. So one of those questions is, do our core needs and desires, do they change? Do they change throughout the seasons of our lives? Or is there something like solid about our core energetic blueprint, right? Like our design, like what we came here for? Is there, or so you could call it a core self, right? Is there a core self? Is there a core thing that my soul came here to fulfill? So the deep desires that I have on my heart are essentially fixed, right? They're in my blueprint. And then like the journey of self-discovery and self-inquiry and spiritual practice is to just keep peeling away the layers and the layers of conditioning, the parts of myself that are inauthentic or wounded in some kind of way, and is the whole journey to get to this core self. That doesn't change. That doesn't change in terms of like what it's wanting, right? What it's wanting to experience and manifest in this lifetime. Or does it change? This is an open-ended inquiry. I'll see how it goes throughout my life if I can ever answer this. If you know, let me know. Does it change? Because we do change throughout our lives. We grow, we mature, we face challenges. Certain seasons of our lives ask us for something, right? Ask us to attend to something or put our energy towards something, right? Maybe there's a season of your life where you're really putting your energy towards family. Maybe there's a season in your life that you're putting all of your energy towards education or travel or building, something. And so in that sense, our desires, like what we want, maybe they change and they're adaptable throughout our lives. So anyway, I feel like I've gone down a really long rabbit hole. How do I find my way back? How do I find my way back? So, decision making. Yeah, we're making decisions all the time, whether we're conscious to it or not. And a good practice is to start to become conscious to the things that we've said yes to, the things that we've said no to, all the decisions that we've made that were maybe unconscious. And we can do that through observing what is currently manifested in our lives. And of course, can we do this process without any judgment, right? With compassion and love for ourselves, right? It takes a lot of courage. Courage is from the heart, courage to do this internal work, this inquiry, because, a lot of stuff comes up. Our pain, our shame comes up when we like really look at ourselves. And then that's also part of the process is can I move through? Can I learn to develop love for my pain, for the things about me, about myself that I didn't see before because I didn't want to see it, because I didn't want to see it because it was hidden by shame and by pain. And yeah. Okay, so now we're on the level of conscious decision making. Conscious decision making. Um, a creator I've been following for a while, Chelsea Rife. She's fantastic. She has a podcast called In My Non-Expert Opinion. She was talking about the word decision, and she had looked up the etymology of it, right? The root meaning of decision. And I love that she did that because I do that all the time. Like literally, I'm such a nerd for words. I'm constantly looking up the root meaning of words. Like, come on, like let's know what we're talking about because this is where the energetic resonance of words are. Um, and it's powerful. So decision means like literally means to cut or to cut off. And when I learned this, how did I feel? Well, one, something like made sense about it. I was like, yeah, that's that's how it feels to make a decision. It feels like cutting something off or cutting through. And there's two ways that I'm sort of orienting to this word of, or this, the meaning of to cut. One, it's been difficult for me to make decisions. Like I struggle with decision making. And it's so funny because I observe in myself, not all decisions are hard to make. And it's funny because like the decisions that aren't hard to make, like I don't make note of them. Like they don't cause me any strife or suffering. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like, da, 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 da. But I get really stuck on there's things that I get stuck on, There's like I get stuck on certain decisions and despite all of this somatic work that I do and all this embodiment work and all this healing, like I get freaking stuck in my head like a lot. Like I get stuck in this overthinking, overanalyzing place. If I were to look at it through an IFS perspective, I have a really strong manager part, right? A manager part that like really wants to know, like really wants to know all of the information, wants to know that I'm making an informed decision and wants to know that my decision is correct and that it's right. And so I'll get into this place of overthinking and overanalyzing and just totally get stuck in analysis paralysis. And it's not just like in my head, there's all emotions involved there. Like all these other parts get activated too, like fear, anxiety, self-doubt, hopelessness. Yeah. So a lot gets kicked up when I'm engaging with making a decision that feels hard. And so one of the ways that I get stuck in my decision-making process is I feel like now this could just be part of my personality or my nature or whatever you want to call it, or maybe it's a product of my practicing of my spiritual practice, but I've gotten really good at having an open mind. I've gotten really good at having an open mind, sometimes to my detriment. And this is really ironic, because this this openness that I experience can be such a gift, and it can also be such a curse, right? It can be like there's two sides to it. Yeah. So being open-minded, I've always regarded as really important. I still do. This hasn't changed. It's really important. It's one of my strengths and one of my gifts. It's something that I can give. I can give a sense of openness and open-mindedness. I actively practice non-judgment. I try my best to do it for myself, and I set an intention a long time ago to practice non-judgment towards other people. And it's allowed me to grow this muscle of empathy and compassion for myself and for others in the world. Yeah. Open-mindedness means that I don't get stuck or fixed on a certain point of view or feeling like I am right. Of course, I'm human, so this happens for me. I struggle with this sometimes, especially when my ego is poked and prodded at, right? So, and it's something that I feel is a very good quality. I do. And then where it bites me in the ass is when I need to make a decision. Like for real though, because I'm like orienting with such an open mind that I'm like, well, then I'm going through it's like my level of awareness is expanded like too much to the point where I can't really even organize all of the data. I can't even organize all of like the information that's coming in. It's just sort of like, well, I can see it from this point of view, and I can see it from this point of view, and I can feel it from this point of view, and then I can feel it from this point of view. And then, you know, and this is what really gets me to a place of being in my head, overwhelmed and indecisive. And at a certain point, this is something else I've observed. At a certain point, if there's a decision that needs to be made, right? And if this decision is yours to make, you know what I mean? There are decisions that are ours to make, like our responsibility to ourselves, right? In our lives, these decisions. And while it can be tempting to sort of stay in this like spiritual bypassy, open mind, open place, like, yeah, like I'm just going with the flow. I'm just gonna see what happens. I'm gonna like let God give it to me. I'm gonna let the universe guide me, or, it'll come to me. While that's useful sometimes, other times it turns it's that, there's a light side and the dark side. It turns to stagnancy. And if we're passive and we're not making choices, conscious choices or conscious decisions based off of like what we want, then we get stuck and life becomes stagnant and life becomes gray. It starts to lose color. Starts to lose vibrancy. And so there is a point, right? Like while there's maybe this process of opening your mind and taking in all the information and looking at things from different points of view and doing your data gathering, and, remaining impartial, trying to be like a scientist to your life, objective. While that might be part of the process, at a certain point, if you stay there, it starts to turn into stagnancy. And this is where vital energy gets gets lost. We start to have there's leakage, right? We no longer feel that sense of vibrancy. Yeah. And then this is also where fear starts to come in. Yeah, we also lose energy through fear, right? So then there's this larger question of like, okay, well, what is stopping me from making a decision? So to cut literally means to cut off other options. Yeah, and for all of my fellow commitment phobes out there, I consider myself, at least at this point in my life, sort of a commitment phobe. I'm working through it. It's like, that's like one of the most terrifying things, right? It's like, what? If I make this decision, it means that I have to cut off my other options. And then this part that comes out that wants to keep all your options open, right? Do you know that part? But I want to keep all my options open. I don't want to make the cut. I don't want to prune off all of those options. I don't want to choose one way or one thing. It turns into stagnancy and fear starts to build. And also for me too, like it keeps me small. This also feels correlated to this process of maturing and growing up, right? Like I said before, there are decisions that are yours to make. They're your responsibility. And when we don't make decisions that put us in a position of being responsible for ourselves and for our lives and for the choices that we're making, we're going to stunt our own growth. We're going to start to feel like a child, right? We're going to start to feel maybe on a subconscious level, maybe down on ourselves or having self-doubt or not having that much confidence. Because confidence comes through making decisions and moving through challenges and like learning that you can do it. And I don't mean do it all on your own in some like toxic individualistic stuff. I mean like being the leader of your own life, not waiting for someone else to tell you what to do, not waiting for permission, saying, "Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is my choice." And then part of that choice is asking for help. But you've made a decision, right? So now you're the director of your own life. You start to assess what you need to start to do and what resources you need to have in order to create and get to where you want to go. I also like this metaphor or the meaning cut, right? To cut, because that's how it feels. I was just, I mean, I feel like I've been in this process for the past couple of weeks. I've been like really taken over by a lot of fearful parts and a lot of insecurity and self-doubt. And I'll talk more about that later. But there's really, it's like when all of those parts start to take over, it can really create a lot of mental fog. This feeling like I don't know what's what. I don't know what's up. I don't know what's down. I don't know what's in front of me. It's like I'm walking through fog. I'll feel heavy. My body will feel heavy. It's like I can't even think straight. There's a lack of clarity. And through this process, which I honor as part of the process, this like walking through fog or having like the dark night of the soul where you feel totally lost and aimless. And through this process, when there's that moment where you're like, I'm going to make a choice. I'm going to make a goddamn choice. And maybe you make a decision that you haven't ever made before. You're going to try something new to get yourself forward or out of the situation that you're in. It feels like you're cutting through that fog. It feels like you're cutting through the goddamn fog, right? That decision has this, I'm getting this image of like a sword, I have a tarot card right next to me. The one of swords. Do you see it? Powerful image. It's like to cut. You've got this like machete, and you're like, I'm going to cut my way through this. And it's energizing, right? It's energizing when you can finally make a choice and a decision for yourself. So, as you're hearing me ramble about all of this, I'm wondering what you might be going through. Like, what sort of decisions are you facing in your life? Or maybe it feels like you're not making, like, not facing any decisions. And that's interesting too. And maybe opens up the door, like, oh, well, what choices maybe do I want to start to awaken in my life? What are these things that I do want to manifest? And maybe you're in a beautiful flow. Maybe there's nothing to add or to subtract. Yeah. But maybe there's something that wants to be experienced, right? Maybe something that wants to be experienced, a little sparkle, a little whisper, a little whisper. Maybe something you've wanted to do for a long time that you've been afraid to do. Yeah. So just ask yourself, what choices am I making? What choices do I want to be making to manifest what I want to manifest? So the slingshot effect, I'm looking at my notes again. Oh, I hope this episode isn't too rambly. Um, but I'll sort of end on this. There's this inevitable sort of pullback or contraction that happens right before right before there's forward momentum, right before that sort of clarity of decision is made, right? Right before you level up or receive what it is that you've been working for. And it's really confusing and it's really hard. What I have found is that it's like right before that happens, right? They say that it's the darkest before dawn. And I find that a way that the universe tests me, or I don't know what to call, I don't know who's testing me, but it feels like a test. Maybe I'm testing myself, right? Where I will find that all of my fears and all of my doubts, all of these kind of like old patterns, right? Like, you know, when you're on your like healing journey and you're like, yeah, I healed this thing. And then it just like comes back, right? And you're like, God damn it, I thought I healed this thing. And then you move on and you expand and then it comes back, right? And you're like, I thought I did it. And then you move on and then it comes back. This is how it works. And I find that, at least for myself, and maybe you can relate, I can't speak for everybody, but sometimes we mistake our pain for failure. Sometimes we mistake our pain for failure, right? We feel some kind of pain within us. And when I say pain, I'm more so talking about our emotional, mental, spiritual pain, right? This deep ache in our heart, our karmic pain, something that we carry with us, our grief. And when we feel this pain, it's so uncomfortable that we think that something is wrong. We think that something is wrong. And then we go into this blaming place. Maybe you blame the world outside of you or you blame yourself. I know I'm more prone to blaming myself. So I experience pain. And because it hurts, I think that there's something wrong and something wrong with me. And then I start to weave these stories of failure. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. I'm alone. No one wants me. When really, well, one, our pain is just our pain. It's part of life. And two, I'd say the deeper truth is that our pain is sacred. Our pain is the portal. Our pain is the thing that we move through to build our character, to grow and evolve and become the person that moves beyond the pain, that has the life, that experiences the life beyond the pain. And it's the gift of that pain. It's a gift because when you move through the wound and come out the other side, that's your gift that you give other people. That's your purpose. That is your exaltation. Now, what I'm referring to is that the pain doesn't necessarily go away, right? And this whole idea that when we heal, it means that we don't have to experience the pain anymore. That's just a story. That's a fantasy. It doesn't exist. And so it's like the more I move through my life and my cycles, the more I grow the wisdom to appreciate the pain and also the practice. It's hard for me to measure like how good I am at this. I don't even think this lives in the world of good and bad. But if I can maintain some level of awareness while I'm in my pain, right? If I can maintain a thread of awareness that this pain is a gift and that actually this pain is a really good sign that I'm about ready to grow, right? It's part of the growth process. It wouldn't be coming up if it wasn't asking you to be challenged. It's saying, I want to challenge you so that you can grow. And I think it's a both and, right? Like we can't bypass those moments. There's no such thing as healing it and bypassing it. It's like the pain is a lived experience. It's like we have to feel it. It's an embodied experience. And, and I think there's a way that we can grow and develop spaciousness around the pain. This is compassion. Compassion literally means to be with suffering, right? So if someone else is suffering and you are with them in their suffering, you are giving compassion. You can do that to yourself through that level of separation of awareness, right? You're feeling the pain, you're in the pain, you're embodied in the pain, and there's enough spaciousness where then you can be with yourself through that pain. And through that spaciousness, then that's when those stories can start to dissolve. And that's when the letting go happens. Because now there's space, and maybe your pain can just be your pain, like the weather, like the clouds rolling through. It comes up and it passes. Oftentimes, what happens is the pain comes up and then we hold on to it. We hold on to it for dear life. We grasp onto it. We grasp onto it through the meaning that we make from our pain. Pain comes up, and then we tell ourselves, I'm not good enough. I'm such a failure. I'll never be able to have the things that I want. No one will ever love me. I'm going to die alone. Something is wrong with me. Right? And so we hold on to it through these stories. And this is actually a way that we keep the pain alive. When really what it's meant to do, it's meant to come up and pass the way that everything does, the way that joy does, the way that love does, the way that pain does, the way that the clouds go through the sky. Yeah, so living through it, right? Feeling, and also letting it pass without attaching. So I only speak about the things on here that I am learning and growing through. I wouldn't know how to do this in any other way. I wouldn't know how to do this in any other way. So if you're going through this, know that I'm also going through this and we can learn together. And that I promise you that as I continue to learn and grow through my own evolution, that I'm going to be sharing what I'm learning along my process, along the journey. Okay, I'm going to stop there for now. And is there anything else that I wanted to say? Thank you so much for being here. Your support means the world to me. I've started to actually make some Instagram content based off of these videos, and it's all very exciting and terrifying. And, 1 minute I hate social media, the next minute I love it. And so I'm kind of on a wild ride. So I would appreciate whatever support you can give me and give this podcast. I'd really love for this community to grow. So please share, subscribe, share on your social media. I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, be well.